Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. One of the big promises that was made by the Democratic Alliance was that they would not use blue lights, they would not use VIP protection units, that they would cut costs. In fact, at some point last year, the Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, was recorded being driven in a Toyota Corolla Cross. Everyone was impressed. Here's the video. Here's what he said about why he was moving in a Toyota Corolla.
Minister Steenhuisen, people are driving black German-made cars. You are driving just a Toyota Corolla.
Toyota Corolla.
But why? Why are you subjecting yourself to modesty?
Cost-saving mechanism.
Yeah.
More money to be spent on the citizens, not on the politicians.
All right.
Yeah.
At face value, this is amazing. A minister using one vehicle, and not only that, using a relatively affordable vehicle, a Toyota Corolla. No BMW, no Audi, no German machines wasting taxpayer money. Impressive. Shayizandla. That is something that Minister John Steenhuisen was praised for. And I wonder, do you actually think that ministers in general should be driven in these luxury vehicles in a country with massive levels of poverty, massive inequality, and low levels of service delivery? Let me know in the comment section, where do you stand on this luxury vehicle VIP protection unit debate? When government is often blamed for service delivery issues, people sometimes have discomfort with these vehicles being driven. It seems like an unearned reward for them to be driving around in these big, top-of-the-range luxury vehicles, air conditioning, all of these features that they have. Some of them have massage, what's in the vehicle, you know? And then you are a taxpayer, you're a civilian, you have potholes in your road, you are not feeling safe in your home, the hospital has got issues, there are long queues when you go to the hospital, and then you know and you see these ministers in these luxurious beasts of the road. Do you think they should have these vehicles? You know, the response to the Toyota Corolla was genuine from a lot of people. But one political party, Action SA, started asking questions. They said, is this authentic or is this public relations? So the Action SA party didn't buy the story. And one of their members of parliament actually sent a parliamentary question to the Minister of Agriculture. So Mr. Trollip sent this question to the Minister of Agriculture. This is the question, I'm going to read it. Whether, given recent reports that he has supposedly shunned the use of luxury vehicles fitted with blue lights, he will provide clarity on the modes of transport that are utilized for official duties. If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? Question 2. Whether he makes use of vehicles fitted with blue lights and or other high security transport measures. If not, what are the alternative transportation arrangements that are being employed, and what is the make, total number, and total cost of the vehicles used? If so, what are the reasons and protocols governing their use, including any official criteria or guidelines applied? The Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, provided an answer to Action SA. Fundamentally, he's using these vehicles. He's not using the Toyota Corolla Cross. So this is the answer. Yes, the modes of transport used by the Minister of Agriculture for official transport duties are departmental-owned executive vehicles and air transport. Yes, all executive vehicles are fitted with blue lights and the appropriate signaling systems. Section 58.3 of the National Road Traffic Act makes provision for the utilization of sirens and the appropriate lamp in vehicles by the person appointed under the South African Police Service Act in execution of their duties. Section 58.3b of the National Road Traffic Act, read with Road Traffic Regulation 176C3B of 2000, the VIP protection officers are appointed under the South African Police Act and execute their duties, which include but are not limited to the transportation of executives with the official vehicles provided and fitted for the purpose. No alternative high security transport measures are being utilized. The current vehicles being used are a 2018 Audi Q7, a 2019 Toyota Prado, and a 2020 BMW X5. The executive fleet allocated to the ministry consists of these three vehicles. The combined purchase price of the three vehicles is 2.8 million rands. That's the answer. So it does in fact appear as if the Toyota Corolla was not the real mode of transportation that the minister is using. In fact, people have said that they've seen DA ministers using blue lights, using all of their ministerial vehicles going in the convoy as other ministers do. Now, the question then arises, is it fair to critique the Democratic Alliance ministers for the use of these vehicles? And to provide context to that answer, it's important to look at what the DA did in 2023, right? In 2023, the Democratic Alliance introduced a bill in Parliament. That bill was called the DA's Cut Cabinet Perks Bill. And according to the Democratic Alliance, this is what they said. The DA's Cut Cabinet Perks Bill will regulate the ministerial handbook and compel the president to immediately review the handbook and subsequently review it every 5 years. It will compel the president to conduct proper costing, consider the economic environment, and obtain recommendations from the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers before proposing any benefits, perks, and tools of trade for ministers and deputy ministers. It will compel the president to transparently report proposed changes to the benefits to Parliament and empower Parliament to approve or reject any perks for the president, deputy president, ministers, and deputy ministers. They went on to say, the bill, which introduces a range of amendments to the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers Act, is designed to rein in the obscene waste of valuable public resources that currently goes towards funding the rockstar lifestyles of the 30 ANC ministers and 34 deputy ministers. According to data collected through a series of DA parliamentary questions, South African taxpayers are forced to pay close to 1 billion rand every year to fund perks such as VIP security, support staff, luxury vehicles, as well as free water and electricity for cabinet cadres. This is in addition to the respective 2.4 million and 2 million annual salaries ministers and deputy ministers are paid. Over the past 6 months, the DA has collected information on how much different perks contained in the ministerial handbook cost South African taxpayers. Our research has revealed the following main expenses, and they cover those main expenses here. Look at this graphic right here. And transport is one of those costs. So this is what the DA opposed in 2023. They opposed VIP security. They opposed luxury vehicles. They opposed free water and electricity for cabinet cadres. What do you call a DA cadre? Huh? A Democrat. What do you call them? I don't know. What do you call them? So they were opposed to this, and now they are enjoying and using these facilities. So therefore, I think it's fair for the Action SA political party to point out an inconsistency in the DA manifesto and conduct as members of the Government of National Unity. They opposed this particular issue when they were in opposition, and now they participate in it as members of the Government of National Unity. I think over and beyond the positionality of Action SA, which I think was good, this was a good use of parliamentary question. I think it's important for everyone to remember that politicians are not always sincere in what they say they will do, and they're not always sincere in what they show you in public, because John Steenhuisen was very happy to take credit for the Toyota Corolla Cross, knowing full well that his fleet is a Prado, it's a Audi Q7, and it's a BMW X5, and not a very old one. A 2020 BMW X5 is up there. That's some brand new vehicle. And it's perhaps even now, if we look at the costing of those vehicles, if you were buying them new, probably is more than 2.8. It was 2.8 when they were purchased. If he was authentic, he wouldn't have used those vehicles. He would have asked for them to be sold. He'd have traveled in one vehicle. right? Politicians don't always behave according to what they say. It seems that the only politicians who are serious are actually the far-right populists in doing what they intended to do. Look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump does try to implement his ideas. Look at Javier Milei of Argentina. He also is trying to implement his ideas. Everything he said he was going to do, he is doing it. People were taking him as a joke, but he's doing it. Donald Trump is already trying to get Canada, Greenland, and a bunch of things. He's trying to rename the Panama Canal, get it to be under the control of America. He's not even president yet. He's already pushing for these things. So why is it that some politicians are so insincere and others are sincere? You know, it's funny, right? What makes some politicians performers and others authentic? What makes others hypocritical? It's important for us to remember. But I also think that it's important for us to understand that the DA actually was making a valid point in 2023, that the costs of the cabinet are significant, that deputy ministers are probably a waste of expenditure, that all of the staffing costs of ministers are probably exorbitant and wasteful expenditure too, because ministers can get 11, 12 people to the cost of millions a year. And then when you look at that, there's duplication. Some of those advisors are just being paid for being politically connected to the ministers, etc. The DA was right to oppose these things, the mansions, the vehicles, all of that stuff. They were right. So, and even if they've shifted, now that they're in GNU, we mustn't forget that the argument that they made when they were in opposition was good. DA was very good in opposition. Now, when they are now in the government, it's becoming a bit shaky because they're challenging, for instance, through courts, things that Panyaza Lesufi is doing, but they're ignoring things that other premiers are doing who are within the good graces of the GNU. It's a very weird dynamic to look at, but in any event, they were right when they opposed these things, in my opinion, even if they've shifted, you know. If somebody tells you that alcohol is hazardous to your health, and then you find them in a Shabin on their third Amstel or Savannah, it doesn't now mean that alcohol is not hazardous to your health. It just means that that particular person is dealing with their own demons, right? I want to ask you another type of question. I wonder what you think about this. Will these inconsistencies actually affect the Democratic Alliance? Is it possible that the party has figured out that it can stay on 20% of the vote, even if they campaign against the ANC, form a coalition with the ANC? Is it possible that the party leaders have figured out that they are so trusted on good governance that they can fail to deliver to Khayelitsha, that they can campaign against blue lights and use blue lights, and people will be like, well, you know, I'll look the other way. Is that what's happening? I want to be fair to the DA. Helen Zille has said that John Steenhuisen doesn't use the blue lights, that he uses the vehicles because he found them there. But effectively, they're not turning on the lights. That's not what the answer from John Steenhuisen seemed to indicate. It looked as if his security detail is open and willing to switching on those lights. But I don't actually think that the issue was the actual lights, the blue lights in and of themselves. Although many people have been irritated by having to get out of the way on the roads when these cars show up, because ministers can sometimes be arrogant, pushy. It feels unfair when you're in the line to see all of these cars go past you. That's part of the issue, but I don't think it's the main issue. That's why I think the DA was complaining about the costs of the VIP protection unit, the cost of the luxury vehicles. The issue was really about the costs to the taxpayer and the costs which did not seem to be justified considering the economy, inequality, lack of service delivery. This is what we know from what the Democratic Alliance told us in their own 2023 bill, which was proposed to Parliament. So it's not so much that the light switch is not flicked on. I don't think that's the issue. It's the fact that the same perks and privileges that the DA was disdainful of when they were opposing, the DA is now, indulging in. They are partaking. I think that's what the issue was. I don't know. What do you think about this whole blue lights thing? Thomas Sankara, when he became president of Burkina Faso, he insisted that the whole fleet be sold and that everyone downgrade the vehicles that they were using. It's one of the things that really showed that he was authentic. And I think that's where part of this conversation about what vehicles government ministers use, et cetera, comes from. In Europe, a lot of the leaders there don't make use of these types of perks. Some of them use the tram, some of them use the train. One of these guys, I think, is it Netherlands, Mark Rutte, he actually was going to work on a bicycle. So this is what the aspiration is, I think, when people position themselves as being cost-cutting, we won't splurge, et cetera. But then the question then becomes, easy to say, not so easy to do. What do you guys think? Let's have a conversation. Till the next one.